Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Passing offense is him, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. They have Jahan Dotson. They just recently traded for John Mechie from the Houston Texans. And obviously, yes, Saquon is there, but a lot of people are expecting the Eagles to have an increase in their passing rate this year. They won't rely as heavily on Saquon, and it should just mean more volume overall. Obviously, Brown was fantastic, and he did so in not playing a full season last year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach, where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Hang in there, that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. I'm Charlie Hume. He is Smylie Kaufman, and we've got a nice little varied episode for you today. If you hung out with us on Monday for our live stream, we teased a little bit of Ryder Cup talk, and we're going to do that in the middle portion of this episode alongside Kyle Porter of Normal Sport, get his views, his takes on the storylines he's most interested in as we lead up to Captain's Picks on Wednesday, August 27th. So look forward to that. We promised a variety of other things, Smylie. We are going to round up on the Tour Championship at the end of this episode, but here's where we got to start first is with the release of the PGA Tour schedule, and we're going to do that by looking ahead to 2026 with the help of our partners at Ahead. Ahead is a strategic partner for enterprise clients, helping them navigate the path toward digital transformation, much like an expert caddy, reading the course ahead and providing the winning combination of technology and execution. You can learn more about them at ahead.com. So Smylie, let's look ahead. You texted over the schedule this morning. I was trying to do my yarn board of triangulation of figuring what's happening here, what's different. We know that the notable items are there is a new event on the schedule that is a signature event. We're going back to the Blue Monster at Doral. It's the Miami Championship. That is a signature event. There's been some shuffling on that schedule as a result of it. Most notably, in terms of the two segments on the calendar, the Vedanta event in Mexico is moving to the fall. The Genesis is going to be back at Riv after the wildfires last year. Truist is, of course, going to be back at Quail after Quail hosted the PGA Championship. And then some schedule stacking to make it make more sense travel-wise. We're going to do back-to-back events in the Dallas area with the CJ Cup and the Charles Schwab. What stands out to you on this schedule at first glance?
Well, I think it's really the April to May is what really jumps out at me. Of course, you got a new event that's happening in Miami at Trump Doral that you mentioned. So that's a cool venue to get back to. So that's one that I think golf fans will be excited to see on TV. But it's a log jam of majors and signature events from the Masters all the way through the PGA Championship. It wouldn't be a good time to be somebody has regular status that doesn't have signature events eligibility. So that would be the area, because if you're a regular guy, the only events you're getting into from the Masters to the PGA would be the Zurich as a team event, which you win that, you get 400 points, not the full 500. And then Myrtle Beach, which is a opposite field event, which will only get you 300 points. So that is a tough part of the calendar for players that are they're obviously not eligible, and it's a very, very long and busy time of the year for the top players. I think you'll see players become either burn out heading, potentially towards the beginning of summer as we head towards the U.S. Open. I could see guys going on an incredible run during that stretch, but also having a tough back half of the season because they're playing in a bunch of events in a row, being 4 out of 5, actually be 5 out of 6 weeks in a row. You're going to see these guys playing, which is a lot for some players. So that little pocket really jumps out at me. As far as venues go, let's see. I guess the only different one would be Belle Reve is a BMW championship, but there's no big surprises. You got the added one in Miami that was announced, but nothing that really jumps off the page. It's like, oh my gosh, crazy new schedule. But I just think it's the Dallas thing makes a whole lot of sense that those are back to back. We've been kind of saying that made sense for entirely too long that they weren't going to, right back to back. But I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, the other one I forgot to mention as I was looking at it now is that we slid the Rocket from that sort of 4th of July pocket next to the John Deere back behind the 3M Open. So when we come back after the Open, you have 2 weeks prior to the playoff event that the Wyndham Championships become. We do the 3M and the Rocket. It feels like those two should be together anyway. I always get mixed up which one of those events is happening at the same time, and I'm glad they're now bunched together. I think that you make a really interesting point about that section of the schedule and trying to figure out, is this a section of the schedule where I feel bad for Zurich right off the bat, because there's just no way that if you're an elite player, you're going to play all those weeks in a row. You just can't. If you're going Masters to Heritage,
nobody's playing.
And I even wonder if some guys are looking at the new event and saying, that course got the nickname the Blue Monster for a reason. I think I'll skip that one to not get beat up, and play.
Oh, that's fine. This guy got a top 10 there, man.
Well, listen, top 5 at Eagle Point. There's a lot of places that Smylie Kaufman plays great that not everyone else does. But I guess I'm more so thinking of the emotional burden you take on at the Masters. Then you go to Heritage, which is obviously a shorter course, but that brings some discomfort for certain guys, the types of shots you have to hit, the way you have to kind of plot your way around that place. You can take a break the following week, you can take Zurich off. And then, you could go back to back heading into the PGA Championship at Aronimink, which is obviously not going to be easy, of course, either. But going to Quail Hollow, that is, a tried and true stop on the PGA Tour. It's just, it's going to be interesting there. And I wonder, and I'll even pose this back to you, is the PGA Tour in a place where they can afford to do something like that run because of the way they've reshaped cards and reformatted, on the reshuffles where it's 100 cards instead of 125, and then you're bringing in the DP World Tour guys and the Korn Ferry Tour graduates. Do we think the outcry about missing out on a lot of those events is going to be less because there are less guys that have cards that can get into those events?
I think the whole system is not correct. Signature events, I think, are too little amount of players. I think if you make the playoffs, you make the top 70, I think you should be getting into signature events. If the fields are already at 70, I have no problem with adding 30 more guys and getting it to 100. If you keep your card at the end of the year, it just seems like, why not? I just have no problem with the signature events being more. I like the storylines a lot, but you can make an argument that maybe it's made a difference in the ratings this year. When you look at, when you turn on the TV and you look at the leaderboard, that it's a leaderboard you recognize, but it's just not quite as friendly to the entire tour. So definitely an argument to be made there is, of course, there's plenty of signature events even before the Masters that you have to, concern yourself with the Florida Swing, with Bay Hill and the Players Championship. And then of course, Pebble Beach and Genesis on the West Coast Swing. So you don't get to play enough golf to play yourself into rhythm. It seems that, you better play good when you get the opportunity, or you might have to wait 2 or 3 more weeks until your next bat.
Yeah, and also that's another schedule change. They flipped WM Phoenix Open and the AT&T Pro-Am, flipped weeks there. So the West Coast Swing, you're kind of ping-ponging back and forth between California and Arizona there to get started. And I wonder, too, looking at the back half of the schedule, if part of the reason why they throw in 2 events as a buffer before Wyndham is to give the premium players who have been grinding all year long an extended period of time off. You could take off, theoretically, if you're in Rory McIlroy's position this year, you could take off 3 events in a row and then feel like you could come back and play Memphis if you wanted to then play into the fall. And of course, Rory was also factoring in the fact that he has to go abroad and play a bunch of DP World Tour events in a row in the fall there. And that's part of the reason why he took off the FedEx St. Jude this year. I'm curious. Let's talk sweat factor, Smylie. St. Louis, better or worse than Baltimore? I think St. Louis strikes me as pretty swampy that time of the year still.
It's probably gonna be hot. It's probably gonna be hot.
Can we please? I mean, Denver last year. How good was Denver last year? Denver was even warm last year, but there just has to be a better way to schedule August from a golf sense. Like, there has to be a better way.
This is when the playoffs are going to have to be. And
so don't do it in these places.
I don't know. We're not going to argue that. The thing that I think that I just to clean up the schedule talk is that it just feels to me that the regular players are just up against it, man. I just look at the schedule, and you really, if you don't play good at the beginning of the year, kind of in that Florida, Texas swing, you're just hanging on for dear life in the middle of the year. Then you finally, it's like, all right, Byron Nelson's here in the May. And then all of a sudden the majors start kind of popping up again, to where then it's all of a sudden it's John Deere. And here, before we know it, you're at 170th FedEx Cup, and you need a good 4-week run before the end of the year. And especially to get top 70, it just seems really, really difficult.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers were playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are joined now, really rejoined, by a friend of the show, Kyle Porter of Normal Sport. You can check out all of his work at normalsport.com. Really cool, in-depth, unique views on the game of golf, and lots of cool perks, subscriber perks there too. So go check out Kyle's work there, normalsport.com. And Kyle, we are approaching Ryder Cup captain's picks. We have the Tour Championship, of course, and then the following week we are going to find out who is going to make each of these teams. Maybe stuff you've already written, stuff you're thinking about writing. What are the major storylines you're paying attention to and excited to see unfold as we lead towards the finalization of both of these teams?
Yeah, I think Well, I think that they're mostly on the American side. I think the European side is pretty drama-free. We can joke about how they've turned into a little bit of a boys' club without the
the lads club, you should say.
The lads club, the blokes club, without some of the consideration of some of the guys that are playing pretty well on that side. But I think the two main ones are obviously Keegan Bradley, whether will he or won't he pick himself. And, Shane Ryan has written about this, but it's like the worst territory that we're in. Like, he's playing well enough to consider it, but not well enough that it's obvious. And it's kind of a mess. And then, I think the other one is, are these guys that we've always considered like automatic stalwarts, like they're going to be Ryder Cuppers for a long time? Are we sure they're on the team? And I think, you look at Cantlay, Morikawa, guys like that, where it's like, they're not playing great, but also like, I kind of trust Cantlay a lot after what he did in Rome. Morikawa's a 2-time major champion. Are you really going to leave him? I think those are kind of the two storylines that I see going into this last, whatever it is, 10 days before the captain's picks are made.
Well, Kyle, it's easy for us to have kind of emotional feelings about, either on one side or the other, where you think Keegan should play or not. Of course, the challenges of being a Ryder Cup captain. We heard Rory McIlroy kind of speak to it last week in the press conference, asking, hey, do you think it's possible to do? He immediately said no. He was kind of approached saying, yeah, I've been asked to do it. I don't think you can do it. But why don't we just kind of try to put into numbers Keegan Bradley? So if we take him out of the box of the emotional side of it, whether we think he should be on the team or not, from a numbers standpoint, you tweeted out the other day talking about just the 5 American players that have been playing really well from a statistical standpoint, not only over the last 3 months, the last 6 months, but really over the last year. Keegan Bradley's been on that list. I mean, can you just talk a little bit about just his overall data and what he might be able to provide for the American team if he were to play?
Yeah, I think the two things that I look at are, one, he's been, like you said, you look at the last 3, 6, 12, and 24 months, he's one of only, I think, 4 or 5 guys that have been in the top 12 in terms of strokes gained. So there's just a consistency there that there's not with take a Maverick McNeely, who I really like and hope is on future teams. He might even be on this team, but there's a consistency with Keegan that gets me excited. There's also like a passion. Smylie, I think if he wasn't the captain, I would be the first advocate for Keegan Bradley being on this team, because
you and me both.
He really, the U.S. has at times lacked a sort of straw that stirs the drink, for lack of a better term. And I think he is that in the same way, like JT has been that, obviously, over the years. I've advocated for JT even when he was playing bad, because especially on the road, you need somebody that brings some juice and brings something to the table. And Keegan is that. That's who he is as a player. And so I feel I said this on the No Line Up thing the other day. I feel bad for him because he's in a really bad spot where it's man, as a competitor, I want for you to be able to be on the team. And I also feel for you that there's not a great decision for you there. I think if you're looking even more micro, he's a really good driver, and Bethpage is a golf course that you need to be in good positions off the tee, obviously. And yeah, so I think I've arrived at a point where if he picks himself, I'm okay with that. And I think that he's gotten enough fans on board that people will be legitimately fired up if he comes out on Friday morning as one of the first 4 matches. That will be a real thing for the U.S. side, in a way that I think maybe negates some of what you possibly lose with him maybe not having as much attention to detail on the captain's side.
Is there a tipping point for you, Kyle, on number of rookies you're willing to take Obviously, in Rome, we saw on the qualification side, Wyndham Clark and Brian Harmon qualifying via their major championship wins. If you're looking at this year's team, you have J.J. Spahn and Russell Henley. Russell, of course, played in the President's Cup last fall, successfully partnered with Scotty Scheffler, but very different atmosphere there than it will be at Bethpage Black for a Ryder Cup. For you, if you're looking at the remaining 6 picks, are there guys that you like, but you're saying, if you're betting in 2 guys for the first-ish time, I have to take less of these other guys to make sure I have experience in the latter half of that team?
It's a good question. I don't really think so. I don't get super wound up about, I mean, you guys know, like, all these guys are so freaking good, and Mav McNeely's not played in a Ryder Cup. I keep picking his name because he's an obvious, like, kind of on that edge, been playing good golf for all year, really. But, like, it's not like he just is, like, fresh out of Stanford. Like, he's played in Ryder Cups. He's played in a lot of major championships. Like, I think it's different if you're like a Ludwig in 2023, where you might be like, if that team was like rife with rookies, you'd be like, I don't know. But they were just able to absorb him very easily with Rory and Rahm and like Rose and all the guys that they had that have played in a million Ryder Cups. So I don't know that there's anybody, unless you want to go as deep as Jackson Coyven on the U.S. side, which I don't think you do. Maybe he's been playing. What
about Miles Russell? Any consideration? He's not playing the Walker Cup, so maybe we get him on this team.
Well, I think
just trying to figure out a way.
I don't know that he's old enough to be a PGA of America member, so I don't know if he can even qualify for the Ryder Cup. But.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Bengals are listening to trade offers for perennial Pro Bowler Trey Hendrickson, per me, and Tom Pelissero. It's unclear if the NFL sack leader will be playing elsewhere in 2025, and a trade will be a real challenge, but time will tell. You know it's not a real challenge? In the offseason, when he doesn't want to be here and you're trying to make a trade for him. Most people that say, okay, I have to sell a house or sell a car, let me put it out on the market, and I'll take the best deal that's available.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
They're saying that he might be back for the start of the playoffs, but their playoff spot isn't secure with the Mariners bearing down on them and the wild card completely in flux. So this is like borderline red alert because the pitching staff has not been good. We have not seen good stuff from Framber Valdez. So now that the back end of the bullpen is not good, I don't know what to make.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I don't think specifically with the group of rookies that the U.S. is looking at that there's a ton of angst on my part with who they could pick.
Is there a player, though, that instills some confidence from you from a rookie standpoint that you think that you just believe will be able to stand in front of those crowds and absorb, what the Ryder Cup is? And that's the most difficult challenge for rookies is standing up there and not being afraid to fail in that atmosphere. Is there a rookie that you think could kind of answer the bell there?
I think Ben Griffin's going to be awesome if he's on the team. And I don't know if he will be. I think he should be. I think he's played well enough this year to do that. I think that he's been good at the last couple majors. He was really good at the U.S. Open at Oakmont. Hit the ball really well. I don't know if you guys listened. He had an interview recently with Solly on the No Line-Up podcast that he's such an interesting guy in that he's very humble, but he's also very borderline cocky. And it's a hard line to walk. And it's kind of what you want as a pro, where you don't, if you're too meek or humble, you just get run over out there. Right. But if you're overconfident, over cocky, then that can be tough as well. And he's just a really good mixture of those two things. And I think he's going to step up if he's on the team. I think he steps up to the first tee and it's just hey, I deserve to be here. I'm the man here. And he goes out and has a really good Ryder Cup. Now, maybe he doesn't end up on the team. Maybe they go Keegan and Morikawa instead of, say, Griffin and Burns or whatever. I don't know what it comes down to with those last 2 or 3 choices there. But he's a guy that if I'm picking just from, a decent distance away, not being super close to it, that I want out there on the first tee.
It's so interesting. I talked to UNC's head coach, Andrew DiBattista, after Griffin's first tour win about that sort of not rubbing in your face cockiness, but just I know I can beat any of these guys at any, whether we're playing a match or we're playing a chipping game or playing a putting game. He just had that sort of feel every stage of his game, and you're seeing it play out at this level and exactly the type of rookie you want on that stage at Bethpage Black. Let's kind of start moving into, let's make some predictions here, or maybe less predictions, but I'd like to hear, because Smylie drafted up a team as well. Love to hear you maybe you and Smylie go back and forth on, if you're making the decision now and your 6 captains picks, what does your team look like right now, Kyle?
Yeah. So, let's talk about this. 6, is there 5 or 6 that are already in?
6 that are qualified are Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau, Russell Henley, Xander Schauffele, JJ Spaun, Harris English. Those are your 6 that are on the team. Okay. So I'll just go down those. I've got, obviously those 6 will be there. My 6 as of right now. And again, I've arrived at a place. I think that people look at these 2 teams on paper and they're like, Europe is going to win 20-8. And I get that. Europe has some very sexy names, Ludwig, Hovland, Fitzpatrick is a major champion. All these guys, Lowry is a big name. But they're not playing as well as some of the lesser name Americans. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. JJ Spaun has had a much, much, much better year than Shane Lowry. Right. It's kind of like how the European team crept up on the Americans heading into Rome. Yeah. Right. In a lot of ways where after Whistling Straits, it's this thing's going to be a walkover, and just that steady build towards it's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. And I hope that people don't bypass, especially American fans. I think you get people who don't. I've got friends that maybe they pay attention to the Masters and maybe the U.S. Open, and then they'll watch the Ryder Cup. They're going to be who the hell is Ben Griffin? Right? Yeah. And you're dude, he's the 3rd best player over the last 4 months. He's really good. And so I don't, you've heard some of that sentiment, and I just push back on it constantly of Patrick Cantlay sucks right now. He'd be the 5th best European over the last 6. He's his major record is not good, but his level of sucking, the floor of that is really high. And the suck floor is.
It's
we need to get that on a data golf graphic.
It's so high. So anyway, I say all that to caveat these 6 guys. I've got JT, obviously. I mean, if you're taking him in Rome, then you're taking him here. Ben Griffin, Sam Burns, Patrick Cantlay, Cam Young, who's coming on really strong. And as my last one, I've got Mav McNeely. Now, I think if you want to put in Keegan or Morikawa as two guys and take two of those out, whether it's Burns and McNeely, or those are probably the two that I would take out. I still think that's a really good U.S. team, and I don't have many concerns about how well they're going to play.
They get some good young pitching, but they can never hit. They got boppers in that lineup. They got electric strikeout guys in the starting lineup for the pitching staff. Like, I feel like I'm rooting that team in, but also not just rooting them in. I think there's a legitimate chance they can take it down, Craig.
Yeah, I think so. Remember, I think I came on your show at the beginning of the season and took Detroit at the beginning of the season with you guys, and now I'm feeling like, hey, I got a shot.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He played with Bobby Mack, literally had a nervous breakdown the entire round, and by the time they got to the fourth hole, he was losing by a stroke. It was, you think Tommy Fleetwood's a train wreck. You should have seen what this poor guy went through yesterday playing with him.
Yeah, you know what I want to say in this too? Like, the winner gets the entire pot of earnings.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
But if I was picking, Keegan's out for me because of the captaincy, only because of the captaincy. He would be in if he wasn't the captain. The Morikawa thing is a real struggle for me because I think that he's a better golfer than Mav McNeely. Like, just straight up, who's better at golf? I think it's Morikawa. But he hasn't played that well this year. He only has 1 top 10, I believe, since the Masters, maybe since the Players. And McNeely has some juice there that I worry about driver, but he's got some juice that I'm really excited about if he makes it. I don't think he will. I think they will end up going Morikawa. But if I was picking, those would be my 12 as of right now.
So when you look at the depth between these two teams, I think it's easy to think that the European side has more depth, but I agree with you that I think 1 to 12, the American team, I think has played better this year. Maybe not at the beginning of the year, you could have said that, but throughout the season on how it's gone on, the Americans have really picked up steam. But my biggest question is I like the top of the European team much more than I like the top of the United States team, where Scotty Scheffler is going to bring it. He's going to be your number 1 guy, but he can't play every single match. And so the fact that the European side can have, Victor Hovland, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, all these guys split up, and the Americans have got to find either new partnerships or they got to have players that they can ride that are going to be the 2, 3, 4 horse that can go out and give you 4 out of 5 matches or maybe even play all the matches. And right now, when you look at it, you think maybe Bryson could be that guy, but if he loses his first 2 matches, what kind of confidence is Keegan going to have in Bryson? And then you look at the rest of the list. Xander hasn't had a great year. JT's been not necessarily in form. He's a guy that would normally play 5 matches. I'm curious, Kyle, what's your thoughts on who you think might be able to step up, or who do you think the American side would look to kind of be that 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a really good point because I think you're right. Like, from the Euro side, you can just bank on Rory and Rahm and, the guys that they have at the top there. Fleetwood's been, I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
He won't. He'll go 5-0 and then not win on the PGA Tour, which is infuriating.
What does he play in the Zurich? Because he should if he doesn't. It feels like he's a missed opportunity there
for sure. I think Bryson is your guy there. I think Bryson's a huge X factor. I really do. He wasn't in Rome too. He was amazing at Whistling Straits. He's just like, I've been calling him like the great exhibitionist because he is just like he lives for just ridiculous stuff like this. And at Whistling Straits, he was the crowd favorite in a lot. And that was at a time where he was not super popular, but he got everybody on his side. And it was awesome to watch. I think he has an opportunity to go 3-0-1 or something. And that would be massive for the US. I think the other thing, Smylie, and I said this during Whistling Straits, is the point of having depth is to feel out who's feeling it that week, is to figure out early, hey, Harris English and I don't know, Xander are feeling it, ride them as long as you can. The point is not to spread out everybody evenly so that everybody plays 3 matches. The point is to figure out who's locked in, like DJ and Morikawa at Whistling Straits, and to ride them as long as you can. And that's where I think that's where a captain really comes into play of hey, these are what we think our strategic matchups are. These guys are awesome in the first match or the first foursomes or whatever. Let's ride them. And that's a hard thing because you can't really plan. You can plan for it, but you have to make some very spur of the moment decisions that affect how we talk about this stuff for the next 3 years. And so that's a non-answer, but I think I'm interested to see. They've got a lot of optionality in terms of who the pairings are. I think Scotty and Russell Henley will probably be together after how well they played at the President's Cup. But then after that, I don't know that there's anybody that's set in stone. Maybe Xander and Cantlay. I'm not sure there.
Maybe.
But yeah, then figure out who's hot and ride them. And that's where you get, I think that's where you take advantage of your depth over what I think is a little bit of a, like you said, a just not weak European bottom, but not playing as well as the bottom of the U.S. side.
On that European side, Smylie mentioned earlier the lads club, so to speak, where we're at, trying to figure out, because really we're having a conversation about who is player 12, right? Is it, Harry Hall, who's been excluded to date, and all these the fittings, and is it my guy, our guy, Aaron Rye? We are a couple Rye guys here on this podcast, or is it just is it a pick your favorite Højgaard brother type situation? Where do you land on that?
And Charlie, and one other thing I want to add to this too, before he answers this, is it going to matter? Will that 11 and 12 man for the European team really even get much run?
Yeah, I think probably not. That's the thing, right? We spend so much time debating who is it McNeely, is it Griffin, is it Keegan, and it's it doesn't really matter if Scotty and Bryson don't play well, That's right. But we spend so little time talking about what's Bryson going to do until the week of, and I think the same is mostly if Rahm and Rory don't play well, it doesn't matter. Rasmus is not going to go full 0-1 and save the European team. I think one thing that's interesting, I was talking to Jamie Weir about this week. If Rasmus finishes, I think it's top 30 at the British Masters this week on the European Tour or DP, whatever it's called. I think he automatically qualifies.
Oh, wow.
Which
is
in
that last spot.
Not something that I realized, and not something I think that anybody saw. And he almost won last week,
he did.
Or he did.
Yeah, he lost to Marco Page, who's also, or if that's how you pronounce his last name.
How are we saying his last name? Do you have a pronouncer there for us, Kyle?
Page. I just call him a great driver of the ball. That's it.
That's easy.
So. I do think it might get taken out of their hands a little bit. And the Harry Hall stuff is fun to talk about. And it's like, I'd like to wind the Euros up on Twitter and like say, you know, talk about a boys club, but I don't know that his skill set is like what you need at Bethpage. It's awesome that he finished top 30 on the PGA Tour. Like, he's had a really underrated year. If you look at most underrated years on the PGA Tour, it's probably him, Jacob Bridgman, guy like if my dad watches the Tour Championship, he's going to be like, "Who's Jacob Bridgman? Who's Harry Hall?" Right? I just don't know that it. And I think the Euros care a lot more about how your skill set fits in, how you play with it, so and so in the matchup, in the foursome matchup, in the 4-ball matchup.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that his skill set matches very well. So
what about
I think
putting is so
up with a
important.
point guard.
He's one of the best putters in the world, Harry Hall. That would be my only ways that maybe they see him as a really good fit on this golf course as a as a foursome player. You know, he's just a utility man that it's like, all right, well, all the par threes are X, and somehow you're able to just make him be a somebody who's just fits perfectly with a really good ball striker.
Whoever they pick, I'm sure will go 3-0-0. So
sure,
beat Scheffler a couple times.
Can you imagine if Bryson and Harry Hall both wear the hat and go against each other in singles?
Can we talk a little bit, because I love that was one idea that I had would be perfect. Bryson breaks it back out. I also think we need, if Keegan plays, we need a Keegan Tommy rematch, and then I think we now need
JJ
a
Rose
rematch. Like I want part 2 of all those boxing matches. It'd be amazing.
One of my favorite moments from, I think it was Medina, when Keegan and Phil were playing together, was when Keegan had Pepsi as his caddy.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a moment, one of them made a birdie, and Pepsi like waved the flag stick around like, and it just looked insane,
bizarre.
But like the whole thing was so perfectly the Ryder Cup, and I don't know. It's been easy. It's very easy to sit here on a computer with a webcam and say like, oh, Keegan shouldn't pick himself because of these 7 reasons.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach, where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Passing offense is him, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. They have Jahan Dotson. They just recently traded for John Mechie from the Houston Texans. And obviously, yes, Saquon is there, but a lot of people are expecting the Eagles to have an increase in their passing rate this year. They won't rely as heavily on Saquon, and it should just mean more volume overall. Obviously, Brown was fantastic, and he did so in not playing a full season last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
when you take into account like just the human element and like the emotion of a Ryder Cup, it's like, gosh, it would, if I was the captain, it would be so hard not to pick myself and not to like want to go out and win a Ryder Cup as a player captain. Can you imagine like what that does for your career? Like that's an incredible opportunity, and it'd just be hard not to do that.
Do you think there's more pressure, Kyle, on the Americans and the European side to win this?
I think the Americans.
It seems like there's just the European side. They talked a lot right after the debate. A lot and too much. And I think those American dudes aren't going to forget about that. I'm sure the highlight reels are going to be plentiful for these guys to be motivated. But it seems this is like the one goal that these guys have is win majors and then win away Ryder Cups. That is kind of the benchmark that these players are trying to hit now.
I think there's more opportunity for the Europeans, right? Because I think that, you look at somebody like Rory and it's like, man, Grand Slam winner, potentially wins 2 away Ryder Cups. He'll eventually captain a Ryder Cup. Like there's some real opportunity there. But I think there's just so much pressure on the home Ryder Cup team to not. Because I think one of the narratives has been like, yeah, you win at home, and like if you take a shot on the road and get close, like that's really impressive. Just because of the way that course setups have gone toward the home team recently. So I do think I don't know if that pressure is on the players though. I almost feel like it's more on the team leaders, the vice captains, the captain of like, hey, don't blow this, especially as a betting favorite at home with the best player in the world. That just feels like, yeah, I think that's a lot of pressure.
What do you set the line for the Ryder Cup? If you're a betting operator, I don't know what it is now, but what would the Kyle Porter line be? I
guess
you need to wait to see the teams come out, but as of now, how would you set it?
Even after like 10 years of being in this, I still don't know how lines actually work in terms of the percentages. I know how lines work. I don't know what the percentages are, but I would say it would be 60-40 US. Like I would say the whatever that comes out to in terms of the line, I think the US should be favored at like a 60-40 percentage.
Why do you get to 60? I think there's many reasons why people would say that would be closer to 50-50 just with the strength of the European side. Do you think there is a home field advantage or home course advantage that brings it over the top?
I think it's home course advantage. I think that, again, people love to yell about strokes gained on Twitter, and I think that strokes gained can be a really
good predictor, right, of how these guys are going to hold up.
I think that strokes gained can be a really bad sort of thing to look at in the short term. Like if you look at one tournament, it's like, there's a lot of noise in there. Like you might have hit one ball out of bounds, or you might have, I don't know. There's a bunch of things that can happen across 1 week or even a month. But it gets harder as you get 6 months out for there to be noise in strokes gain. And you just look at like the last 6 months of how both these teams have played, and the U.S. has just been better across the board. Now, does that translate to match play? No. Does that mean the U.S. is going to win? No. But I do think going in, you've got the better players. And when you've had the better players at home, historically over the last 20 years, like you've won home Ryder Cups. They had freak anomaly at Medina that they should have won like 6 different ways and they didn't, and that happens. But I think those 2 reasons are kind of what I look at when I think the U.S. should be the favorite here.
Hey Charlie, so Morikawa is not making Kyle Porter's team. Is Morikawa and Cantlay making your team?
For me, and that was actually something I was going to ask Kyle, but I feel like Morikawa would be a yes for me. Cantlay is an interesting one because I think it connects to what you feel like is best for a Xander Schauffele who is not in the Xander Schauffele form we're accustomed to seeing, or at least pre-injury Xander Schauffele. It's like, do you support a guy with a familiar partner and Patrick Cantlay, but if Cantlay is also not playing his best golf, is that just a pair you're setting up to fail, right? Like, is there a better partner we can find for Xander who's playing a little bit better than Cantlay is right now? So I'd probably be a yes on Morikawa and a no on Cantlay.
So who are your other Who are your 6? Like your other 5, including Morikawa?
I knew you were going to ask me this. And I pulled up the data golf chances of winning the Ryder Cup to compare to your percentages. Which, by the way, I don't understand how this makes sense. It says they're currently predicting the Europeans a 39.3% chance to win the Ryder Cup, and the Americans a 52.7% chance. So I feel like there's like
7%
to 8%,
or
yeah, I guess that would have to be that. So, I mean, I'd say past the ones that qualified, I'd say JT's on my team, Colin's on my team, Ben Griffin, I think Cam Young.
Yep.
So let's see, I got 1, 2, 3. So I need 2 more. I want to see Keegan play. Okay. I think for all the reasons you're listing, it's the emotional lift of playing in front of that crowd, a player that resonates so strongly with the American fan base. I mean, every tournament we've been at, every major we've been at, the USA chants follow him around. Yeah. Like I just, I know it's going to be a difficult thing, but I'd say Keegan's on that team. And then it's a decision really between Matt McNeely, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns. And I mean, yeah, that's tough. I'd probably go.
It's a hard team to figure out, man.
That's a hard team to figure out. Maybe I would go Cantlay just based on experience, and because Sam Burns has been the victim of all of a sudden we found a pairing for Scotty Scheffler and Russell Henley, so you're a little bit more expendable than you would be. But it's hard to do Maverick McNeely like that. So I
think Burns is so interesting. Smylie can probably speak to this, but he was like his pedigree growing up was like extraordinary, right? And I think it's just so easy to almost write him off as like, Scotty's like buddy that he like practices with. And it's like, Sam Burns is freaking good, right?
Yes.
And like, he could have won the US Open. Like he's, I don't know. Like he's had an interesting career because he hasn't been as good at majors as I maybe would have thought. But man, he is just, I believe in pedigree. I think he's a kind of an underrated player. So I guess all that to say, like, I don't know that you can go wrong with any of those last three choices that you listed. I think the U.S. is going to be really strong no matter which of those you.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3-wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan #1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 #1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers were playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro baseball today, only on SportsGrid.
How good was Sam Burns growing up, Smylie?
Incredible. He's, I think, a very underrated player, like you're talking about, but he's one of the best putters in the world, but he's the ultimate competitor too.
Yeah.
I know Scotty Scheffler's in this like category way above everybody else, but I've spent plenty of time around this guy. Sam Burns might be your best friend, but if you're playing him in match play, he's going to want to take you down and literally bury you underneath the ground. That's like the attitude that he approaches match play with, which is very similar to how Keegan approaches it, which I think matches up with the captain. Yeah. So I think if Sam Burns being in the room last year with Keegan and seeing the attitude he brings to these matches, I think is the attitude you need going into a Ryder Cup. He's got experience. I think Burns is going to make the team. It's just hard for me to figure out because is Cam Young, like, is his data good enough? I made the point that sure he's looks like he's figured it out over the last 2 or 3 months or so. But before, in the beginning of the year, the numbers were really, really poor for him. Like the ball striking wasn't great. Is this like a pop putting year? Like, is the putting going to hold up in Ryder Cup? Because it sure wasn't there the last couple of years. So it's the Cam Young one is a really big question mark to me. I could see why people right now are like, how do you leave him off the team? It's like, well, which one are you going to get? Are you going to get the Cam Young who's been playing really well lately? Or is he going to kind of regress to the mean a little bit with the putter? And then is the ball striking going to hold up? So I have big question marks on whether Cam Young will be on the team. Morikawa and Cantlay, I think, are just, gosh, that is going to be so difficult to call one of those guys and tell them they're not on the team. But I think you can make a case that one of them doesn't make the team. And that to me is the huge storyline going into the picks next week, is whether one of those guys will be left off the team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Cam Young thing is a little bit like the Chris Goddard thing, right? Where he pops up and you're like, wait, should this guy be on the team? And you start looking at the rest of his numbers and his finishes, and you're like, do I trust like these 2 sort of random weeks in July in Scotland when the Ryder Cup is in September in New York? Like, does that make it? It's really, I think one of the hardest things about being the captain is like, what are my criteria for making the team? Do I care about the last 6 months? Do I care about the last 3 months? Do I care about consistency? Do I care about whether you had like high highs and I don't really care about the low lows? Like, that criteria, I think, is what, one, makes all of this so interesting to talk about, because everybody has different criteria and all of it is valid. And 2, what makes the captaincy in a lot of ways so difficult, because you can justify anything. You could justify picking Chris Goddard. I probably wouldn't do it. But it just is. That's a very, very hard thing. And I'm sure we'll criticize all of it for a long time.
Well, and plus the young Goddard angle too had the added PR campaign of like, do you want to take a New York and or a Jersey guy to play a New York Ryder Cup? Like, the crowd juice there is going to be off the charts.
They would love. They would kill for him.
Chris Goddard like making a big putt, like popping the chain to the Bethpage crowd. Are you kidding me? There's some of these guys I just want to pick them because I want the visual, I want the memory, even if it's hard to take them based on a resume.
Well, Kyle, I'm with you on Ben Griffin. That's the rookie I have the most confidence in coming into this Ryder Cup, and we're going to have to see how these teams shape up. We might have to have a rekindle and regroup here, and once these teams come out, then we can really make some better judgment calls on who the favorite should be. But I'm interested to see when they come out next week. And Kyle, I know you are too. And so if you want to go check out more from Kyle Porter, make sure to go check out his newsletter, Normal Sport. Kyle, thanks for coming on today, buddy. And we're going to definitely be watching.
Yeah, guys, anytime. Always happy to talk about this. And stay cool in Atlanta this week, Smylie.
Oh, thank you, buddy. I got no more sweat to give, but we'll do our best. Thanks, bud.
How long does it take for you to drive from Atlanta to Birmingham? 2 hours?
Like 220. Yeah.
220. So like if you get home,
I get an hour back.
If you 5:45, that's right. Oh, dude, now my head's gonna break. Because 5:45, but it's 6. Is it 6? No, it's 5:45 Eastern, so it's 4:45.
I'll probably be in the car by 6. Let's just call it that.
6 Eastern. So so we could do like an 8:30, 8:45 Eastern live stream is what you're telling me.
Potentially. That is factoring in that I'll grab some dinner. So probably a little bit later than that. So maybe
Wendy's?
closer to 8:45.
Wendy's drive-thru. See you there.
And that is to say that we don't have a 5-hole playoff.
Please no 5-hole playoff. Please no 5-hole playoff. Okay, well, that feels like a good little preview of the Tour Championship. Hope you enjoyed a little schedule talk, a little Ryder Cup talk, a little Tour Championship talk. And yeah, I guess we'll see you maybe Sunday night live.